some of your lives, the way you look at yourself and the way you look at the world around you. The subject matter is not the kind of matter you get from ordinary sources or books. So I would like your participation in an experiment. And some of you might be able to tell what it is that I draw on the board before I finish. And if you know what it is, interrupt, say, I got it. So I'm going to start. Can all of you see the board? I don't think I can make it with this. Can all of you see the board? Can you hear me all right? Okay. The minute you know what it is, interrupt.
Sinking ship, the Titanic.
What is it?
Titanic.
Okay, great. Now, if he didn't call that, remember there's no ship there at all. There was enough bits for his associative memory to put that together. Now, you know that's not a ship. Now, what is this? Some of you older people might guess this.
An alarm clock.
Who did that? You are amazing. That's no, where's the alarm clock? Well, anyway, if she didn't call that, if she wasn't able to call that, I would have put the legs on it and the clock and Hamilton watch coming, until somebody called it. Now, there are still some that cannot see the ship. So I would have gone all along, put all the windows in, Titanic, everything, till somebody got up and said, yeah, Titanic. Well, this is an attempt to prove that all of us are capable of making decisions and arriving at a conclusion without all of the information prepared for us. That is a unique quality in human beings. We can put things together, and we do not require the accumulation of a great deal of information. In this system, if you understand this system quite well, who would you say this is? Who said that? Who said that? Lincoln. I don't see Lincoln, but it's Lincoln. It would have been Abraham Lincoln. When I got through with it, I would have gone on with a beard and all of the stuff. So this is just to prove that people can put something together. And I'm going to try to explain to you just what creative thinking really is. Now, I'm going to use old language, the language that I use with people who are not familiar with this way of thinking. The old language is that people can think and reason. I do not believe that is possible. I have many inventions. I've worked on many different things. But I do not believe that human beings can think or reason. This is what I do believe. By the way, you don't have to accept anything I say. During the question period, don't be polite. Come at it from all angles. Break it down if you can. This helps me, and it helps you. So when I talk about thinking and reasoning and putting things together, we're talking about the forces that shape human behavior. I believe that all human behavior is lawful. That the reactions and values that all people have are perfectly lawful to the environment that they come from. So every human being is perfectly well adjusted from where they are coming from their background and experience. If you, as a baby, were raised by the Seminole Indians, you would behave, if you never saw anything else, like a Seminole Indian. And if you were brought up in any other Indian group and you had feathers in your head, in your hat, in your headgear, and you were dancing around the fire, and I walked over and said, that's ridiculous. What are you dancing around the fire with the feathers for? You don't take your hat, throw it on the ground, and say, you know, I never thought of it that way. We can't do that. We're victims of culture. We look at the world with our background. We have no other way of doing it. Psychology is kind of a rudimentary form today. an attempt to grasp at the factors that shape human behavior, the factors that are responsible for the way we look at ourselves, other people, and the way we behave, or, if you wish, misbehave. I don't believe that any human being misbehaves. They use whatever tools they know of, whatever tools they're familiar with. Language is a tool. If someone were to show you a picture of an airplane, what appeared to be an airplane, without wings, well, people look at it and they stand back and they say, it'll never fly. But they don't say, how do you propose to lift off the ground without wings? That's the key to communication. Now, a very famous scientist, deceased now, tried to get the government and people to put up sufficient funds to monitor outer space, to try to make contact with extraterrestrial life. I want to try to say this to you and think about what I say. Toss it around. I'm using the old language because you're not that familiar with these values. If people or beings or things can travel 100 million light years through time and space, they are not humanoid. The storage system for water would occupy miles, and all of the facilities required by humans would take up tremendous amounts of space and require tremendous amounts of energy. Now, there are people that talk of flying saucers that land here on Earth, and they go to some farmer, you know, and they take him into the saucer, and they do all kinds of experiments on them. Now, first of all, people do not travel hundreds of millions of light years to pick up some farmer and ask him what kind of suspenders he wears. Carl Sagan wanted to communicate with extraterrestrials. He hoped that they, in turn, would communicate with us. Now, you know that the Republicans can't communicate with the Democrats. You know that husbands and wives have difficulty in communicating. Children and parents have difficulty because the language we use was designed a long time ago. And it is inherently difficult to get ideas across in the language that we use today. However, when engineers meet and talk, they speak a different language. One engineer might present a very thin cable and says, this can support 5,000 tons. And the other engineer says, what's its tensile strength? And he's given that information. Then he puts it in a machine. I don't know whether you knew this. And he snaps it to make sure that it holds to that. When engineers design an airplane, well, we'll probably be chasing this around. They do all the calculations. This is a front view, a very rapid drawing of a front view of an airplane. They do all the rapid calculations, and they figure what that wing will be able to support. And after all their calculations, and after they're certain, they then pile sandbags on the wing. Did you know that? Until it breaks off to make damn sure that it does the job. Now, that does not exist in everyday language. In everyday language, you don't have that ability. When an engineer meets another engineer, he says, I can illuminate an area with this tiny point of light that has 50,000 square feet. The engineer says, well, that's not possible. He doesn't talk like that. He says, how do you power that unit? What kind of voltage does it take? How do you illuminate that spot? They ask questions. The average person, yeah, nah, not in 1,000 years. That's been around for a